Hi everybody, welcome to Markz900. I'm Mark and today I'm going to be talking about 5 skills that require a bit of practice and not anything like that stunt you've just seen. These will have some real world actual practical use. I know that I did 5 tips in a previous video, but those were things you could instantly try. What I'm going to do now is talk about 5 things that you'll need to practice and think about if you want to use them, and it also comes with a health warning that some of them are easier than others. So let's start off with the first one, which I learnt from the guy who came to drop off this bike. Now when he turned up, he was from D&P in Swansea, who did a great job by the way. Anyway, he rocked up in a van, he opened the back door and he put down a ramp. Then he proceeded to ride the bike backwards off the ramp. I've never seen anything like it. And he just shrugged his shoulders and said, well, I do this a lot. Now, I've got pretty good balance and I'm on a gentle slope here, so I reckon I can do this with a couple of trial runs. Well, let's give it a go. After all, if I'm in a tight parking spot on bike night and need to reverse out, this would look very cool. Then I've got this, I'm going to start the engine. I'm not really sure why, I think just so I can get back up the hill afterwards. But let's go. Just check the old mirrors, quick look behind, and disaster. Well, that wasn't bad, but this is not as easy as I thought it was going to be. So that first skill was really difficult and I left it a right huff. Now I got home, didn't feel too good, and I ended up testing positive for COVID. So I'd like to blame COVID for that poor performance. However, I've made a full recovery and I still can't do it. So let's move on to something altogether more simple and talk about climbing on and off your bike. So pretty straightforward to start with. We could all climb on and off straightforwardly like that. It's dead easy, especially on a Z900 because it's got a fairly low seat, but it has got this very high rear pillion seat, which is a bit of a problem to swing your leg over. So to get around that, if you're a short ass like me, or you're trying to get onto a much bigger bike, then use the foot pegs and climb on like that. Piece of cake. And you can do the same to get off. Now then, if you're around on the other side, it's a little bit more challenging because you can't climb on and off the bike with a stand down from this side. Well, you might be able to, but no, I don't think I can. So I'm going to pick the bike up, keep the brake on, and then I can climb on and off from this side, woo, like that. And you see, it does take a little bit of practice because it feels completely foreign to do that. So again, getting off, make sure the brake's on, and you can climb off. Okay, easy enough. But what about using the foot pegs to climb on and off from the right hand side? Well, let's give that a go. So if I want to climb on the bike from here and I want to use the foot pegs, this is a whole different skill. So if you just put your weight on that peg, the bike will lift up and then fold down on top of you. So clearly you can't do that. It's all about where you put your weight. So it's got to be foot on the foot peg and then get your weight over to there. And that's the challenge. So foot on the foot peg and then the weight's got to go that way. Like that. And then from there you can climb onto the bike. If you're trying to learn how to do that and it feels really weird, probably the easiest way to do it is learn to get off the bike that way first of all, because you naturally put your weight in the correct place when you do it, and actually it becomes a lot easier. Right, one of the things I didn't really mention was that if you're stood on this side of the bike and you haven't got the side stand down, it can be quite unnerving. So there are a couple of things that you can do about this, one of which is to walk around the bike. And obviously there's a bit of technique to this, it's not physically difficult, but you do need to get the balance right with the bike, and it does need a bit of practice to build up that skill. and it's not a bad thing to do. So you can do that, move around, put the side stand down, or you can lean over and put the side stand down. And if you do it that way, you've then got to lean the bike away from you and hope that that side stands down properly. Now, if I heard it click into place, I've every confidence I've done it right, but even so, as I say, it can be a little bit sort of, oh, there we go, until you actually feel it get onto that side stand. So again, something that's definitely worth practicing. Okay then, let's have a think about how we would climb onto the back of the bike in a tight parking situation. And I originally thought perhaps I could do a leapfrog off the pillion seat and land there, but I've got a feeling I'd smash my gonads into the back of the tank and leave 3 little oval-shaped dents. So clearly that's not going to work. What we need to do is climb on. And the way I've figured it out is to put this foot peg down, then left foot goes onto the tyre, and then my right foot onto there, grab the handlebars, and we're on. So let's see if that works. I'm going to use this strap as well, so let's try it. Oh, there we go. Whew. I'm not sure I could get off that way, but I can definitely get on that way. So there we go. I think that's about as difficult as it's going to get. I haven't worked out a way to climb on from the front yet, so we'll leave it at that. I think all of those things still, once again, need a bit more practice, but definitely worth doing for those awkward parking situations. Okay, this next one's going to be rather interesting because it's about how to spin the bike around, and I've had to use this in anger on a number of occasions. So I've seen loads of different tutorials on YouTube about how to do this, but really it depends on kind of your style and how the bike is and the weight distribution of the bike and so on. So what I mean is that when I pick this one up, however I pick it up, on the stand, it goes very heavy on the front wheel. And so a lot of these tutorials will say just simply pick it up like that, turn the handlebars, and then you can scoot the bike round. And it's not easy with this bike because there's too much weight on that front wheel, and because of the angle of the front wheel is pointed kind of up there, and what I'm trying to do is make it turn around there, so it's never going to work. What I found is, for this particular bike and for the way I lift it, if I pull the handlebars that way and then I pick it up, and then I'm going to put the weight slightly backwards by pulling up on this one, then it will find a balance point and I can spin the bike around. So let's give that a quick go. So I pull it backwards, I then pull the weight with this handlebar, and you can see that the bike then will pivot, and then it's just a question of practicing to move it around on that pivot point. Right, this next one's rather interesting because I've only ever really seen it done in the showroom. So the idea is I'm going to approach the bike from the front, and then I'm going to tip it onto the stand again as we did before, but I'm going to stand at the front of the bike, I'm going to pull on this side of the handlebars, I'm going to push on that side of the handlebars, and the bike will spin round in an arc. Now I have tried this on my front drive, so I'm going to give this a go and let's see how it works. Right, so come into the front of the bike, tip the bike over, and then simply, wow, that was remarkably easy. And so there we go, there's another technique that you can use. Now there are loads and loads of different techniques for moving your bike around on the side stand. I'd advise you to go and have a look on YouTube, try them out, see what works best for your bike, and those are the two certainly that seems to work best for my Z900 with the techniques that I use. Right, let's go on and try something else. Okay, here we are back on the front drive, and let me just tell you a quick story about my mate from a few weeks ago. We were out riding, we went the wrong way up a road and had to turn around. It was a bit of a rough road, it was on a hill, and unfortunately he tipped the bike over, and he laid it down very gently so there was no damage, but of course still loads of adrenaline rushing through his hands and his fingers, and even so he managed to pick the bike up and wheel it off to the side of the road without any trouble at all, just because he'd been looking at the YouTube tutorials and he knew exactly what to do. So well done to my mate. It did make me think, would I be able to do the same thing? And I've never had to pick this up yet. Not really sure how heavy it's going to be. Not sure what the best technique is, and I guess really there's only one way to find out. Okay, right, now I obviously meant to do this. I laid the bike over very gently. It's on a nice big thick piece of rubber, and I'm on the comfort of my own front drive, but even so I'm shaking like a leaf. And looking at my bike here, there's two things running through my head. The first is I need to get this back on its wheels as quickly as possible, and the temptation is just to grab it and lift it back up. The other thing that's going through my head is, oh, I can get to all those bits underneath that I can't normally clean, and that's a bit of a worry. So let's just concentrate on getting this back onto its wheels. Now, I did notice when I was putting it down that I could actually get in front of the bike and pick it up as if I'm just picking something up like that. It's not a particularly heavy bike, so I could, if I wanted, get underneath and just pick it up like that. But I'm going to, instead of doing that, I'm going to do the thing that you're supposed to do, put my back into the bike and then lift it up from there. Right, let's do this the way that I've seen them do it on YouTube, and that is to put my back to the bike, grab the handlebars with the brake on, grab something solid underneath where the frame is, and then push up. Oop. So the first bit was obviously easy. My goodness. Well, there we go. Back up onto its stand, and I can safely say that I'm never going to do that again, at least not deliberately. It wasn't actually that difficult to pick up using that technique. As I say, I reckon I could have done it forwards as well, but that might have put my back out. So turning my back to the bike and lifting it up like that, I now know that if there's an emergency and I do drop the bike by accident, that I can on my own get that bike back up on its wheels. So I'm quite pleased about that. No damage done. I've torn my rubber mat, but apart from that, the bike's in fine condition. I may have just need to readjust my rear view mirror, and that's about all. So it was a good exercise to do. As I say, I really wouldn't recommend you do that at home, but I would definitely recommend that you go and have a look at the YouTube tutorials, find out exactly how you're supposed to do it, and just, if you do nothing else, practice it in your head. Right, good. Bike back on its wheels. That's good to see. Look, if you're going to tip your bike over, make sure you know what you're doing and watch the experts. Maybe even go on a course with professionals, but please don't just watch an idiot like me on YouTube. Okay, so whilst doing this video, it made me realise just how many things we motorcyclists need to actually try and master. And there are way more than 5. So the last thing I want to do is really just to make a point that you need to find somewhere you can practice. For me, there's an industrial estate nearby where they don't work on weekends, and lots of people go up there to practice for driving and riding tests. I've been to similar places and been turfed out by the security guards, but this place is fine and they don't seem to mind. Now obviously I'm not going to start pulling wheelies and stoppies, and besides which that would be for a whole other video, but I am going to spend the next couple of hours riding around in tight circles, braking, counter-leaning and doing all the drills you learn for your bike test. So that's it for this week. Why not get out there and train some of those more unusual skills that you might need? But whatever you do, keep your chains oiled and I'll see you soon.